everyone, and welcome on back to Just JP. Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're having a great day out there on whatever corner of the world you're in. Hope that as well. Let's go ahead and take a listen to some Avenged Sevenfold. We're going to listen to their new track off of their new album, Nobody, off their album Life Is But a Dream, which was obviously released 2023, just a little bit recently here. So I have listened to Avenged Sevenfold. It's been a long time since I've listened to them, but I do have at least a little bit of a history with the band. I've listened to their, and I've owned their albums, I should say. Waking the Fallen. I've owned their self-titled album. I was introduced to the band with their song Bat Country, which I know was like a big song when they were kind of, you know, not coming up, but I know that that was probably like one of the catapults into the mainstream for them. I've listened to some of Nightmare, some of The Stage. You know, like they're one of those bands that like I've kept up on like their hits, but I haven't like, besides those two albums that I own, I haven't like, you know, really gotten into them. But I'm excited to hear this track as they are very impressive. I really enjoy what they do. And they're one of those bands that really they have a lot of growth, I should say. From like their metalcore days, kind of pushing into like progressive. I loved when Portnoy was on Nightmare with them. Like, you know, like the Rev is an incredible drummer or was an incredible drummer, you know, like they're just a really cool band to kind of follow. So I'm just curious to see what's going on with this new album, with this new single. So without further ado, let's go ahead and give it a listen. We'll talk about it after. Let's go. I like that. Put a bit of an electronic vibe in there. Oh, I like that machine-like drawl on the riff. Now you got some orchestral keys in that bass riff. What in the choir is this? That's nobody, but that's somebody. All right, before we talk about like the track and all that stuff, we have to make mention, at least personally, Gates has always been an incredible guitarist, but that solo, that whole moment at the end is just like, it takes this track from a great track and just transforms it into something that's like, ooh, that solo, the way that the strings started up, that sharp violin, hitting the riffs, that's really nice. So already immediately, I'm assuming based off of what we heard on Nobody, the band is stepping into a slightly more electronic direction, but also including a lot more orchestration in the music as well. Obviously, we heard of that at the end, underneath the solo there. By the way, Wackerman is going to be the drummer on here. I was curious as to who was drumming with them on this album, and it's going to be Brooks Wackerman. Great groove that he comes up with there at the end. Not only accenting the solo, but giving power, giving lift to it as well. Great support bra, basically, at that point. Okay. So, like I said, going back to those orchestral elements, we have that heavy horn section that comes in and really boosts everything. That was just really nice. I love that setup on the riff as well because it reminds me of Leprous. Leprous with is it Slave? The riff there, the way that like it was so sharply cut off and that little drift on it, it reminds me of, I think it's Slave from Leprous, if I remember correctly. I'll see if I can find a comparison for that. But what a great riff. Like it's static, it's charged, it's kind of stagnant, but the way that it forms around itself, it takes it from stagnant to moving. I just really like that. It takes it from potential to kinetic. Then you have, basically on the hi-hats there, it kind of sounds like trap hi-hats from trap music. They're a little higher in the production than I would say. They're a little higher in the mix than I would really prefer, but I'm really nitpicking. I do like the addition that those sounded in the music itself. And then Shadows, I thought sounded really nice, especially amongst all the pushes that were going on musically, the riff, the orchestration, those big moments. You had a break where we had a little bit of a choir come in, which was kind of interesting. So that's what I mean with Avenged Sevenfold. Every album, you know, I can't say every album as a whole because I haven't heard all their albums, but at least the songs I've heard in their timeline have always shown a certain kind of progression, and this really does sound like the next step after The Stage. I think that's really a great track there. All right, let me do something really quick though. Let's see. I want to hear the beginning riff in Nobody. Hold on, let me go. Right? Okay. I know it's not going to be exactly the same. Listen, I already know it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of, it's similar in some ways. It is Slave. Like that. It's nothing else. I know that Avenged Sevenfold, if nobody cut it off, and I know Lepers, they let it go on. But man, do I love that little drawl, that tuning, I guess. They're either detuning it, I don't know, retuning it, sliding their hand up. I don't know what they're doing. I'm not a guitarist. But I really like that effect because it adds like this kind of menace, like the pitching. It just sounds so good. I just wanted to make that point. All right, lyrics. Ride in the shadows, wandering beyond the frame. Float like a feather through space and time outside a dream. Pirouette with divinity in a dance we've shared before. Someone disillusioned. This is I am all as I am none. Here we fly so high. No, I know coming down. So some sort of travel is happening, whether this is an astral projection, a journey of spirituality, something's happening. Shedding weight as I'm coming undone, all that's left converging as one. I am the sun, I am the sun. I'm a god, I am awake, I am one in everything. I'm alive, I'm the dead, I'm a man without a head. Which I guess you could say he's kind of having this moment like, I am part of everything, but at the same time, I'm nobody. Hence the name of the track. I walk with death in final exhalation and come apart through violent separation. 1,000 floors ascend into the ether, a lunatic enchanted by the reaper. I kind of like that line. And down below I leave a stranger lying lifeless as the light begins to shatter the skies. I ascend and leave behind the used to be and tear the fabric worn to cover my eyes and see. So yes, you could translate this into so many different aspects. He could have died, left his physical body behind, and now, of course, his soul is ascending. Hence, I leave behind what I used to be. This could also be some sort of rebirth, physically, spiritually, whatever. And then he tears the fabric that was covering his eyes, so now he can see. That fabric, of course, doesn't have to be physical. It could be representative of something. Breathe in the silence, ebb and flow among the waves, blur on the spectrum, in light come dark in equal phase. All I ever was, has been, and always will be. So we're kind of getting like a little bit of an alpha omega thing going on here as well. Here I end as I started again, beyond death and born on the wind. So I'm really getting a rebirth vibe listening to this track here. And then the ending of this one, a crack in the darkness, a tear in the sky, a narrow moment when we find ourselves in all we occupy. Return to the boundless, immerse in the fray, letting go as you lose your name and all you've known to be. I'm really getting strong reincarnation, rebirth kind of vibes here. I don't know why, but it kind of reminds... I bring this movie up sometimes. It's not a great movie, but I think the story's kind of interesting. Martyrs, it's a heavy movie, super heavy. But like at one point... kind of the point of the movie, basically. It's a very torture-filled kind of movie. They want to torture people to the point of just about to die to see if they can see into the afterlife, and they can kind of report back on what they saw to the living. I'm getting something like that. Anyways, great track. Let me know what you guys thought of it. You can let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for being here. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter, support the channel on Patreon, blah, 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 blah. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you later, guys. Bye.